Welcome, everybody, to this episode of Semi-Sages of the Pages.
Yay!
You might have noticed there's no Morgan today. We've replaced her forever. That's not true.
What?
That's not true. I've just scared Morgan, who's at a very important family event tonight. But instead, we do have the wonderful pleasure of hosting a guest, my friend Ray. Ray.
Hello.
All right. Oh, by the way, I'm Molly.
Oh, I'm Teresa.
And this is our friend
There we
Ray.
go.
Ray has a very interesting job at a Big Five publisher and has agreed for us to kind of interview them about their job, some of the experiences they have, and give us a sneak peek behind the curtain of Big Five publishing. So, Ray, do you care to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. As my lovely friend Molly said, my name's Ray. I'm an assistant sales person to two different teams at Macmillan right now. One is the merchandise and clubs team, which, despite what it sounds like, does not mean that I get to work with like tote bags or anything of that. Merchandise in this case means different types of stores. So Target and Walmart count as merchandise, whereas like Sam's Club, BJ's, those are the types of clubs that I work with. And then the other team I work with is libraries. So that would be Ingram and Baker and Taylor. Don't worry if you don't know who those are. I didn't either. I am an ex-engineer, by which I mean I tried engineering in college and didn't like it and found my way here. And I often feel like I'm horribly overqualified and underqualified for this job. But honestly, it's really fun. And I keep trying to get all of my friends to join me at Macmillan because the benefits are really nice and the job means that I get to read all kinds of books all the time. I mean, not while I'm working, obviously, but still, free books sent to my house. Can't really beat it.
And they're hiring?
Interesting.
They're hiring all the time. Yeah, their jobs board. I would bookmark it and just kind of skim it once in a while. Also, the benefits are very nice. So that's
I would just do it for the free books.
Especially if you work in sales. So I have unlimited access to sending books, right? That's what I do a lot of the day. So I could just place an order to send books to my house and no one would bat an eye.
Well, now they will
do that for like hundreds of books. But
you've told them now what you're doing or what you could be doing.
They don't mind. They tell me I can do it. That's the thing. Like, they're encouraging you, like, hey, you want this book? Oh, do you want this ARC? Oh, you want this manuscript of this thing that's going to publish in winter? Let me email it to you. It's highly encouraged.
So what I need is for you to just tell me which books I need to be reading. Like, hey, Molly,
absolutely.
In a few months, this book's coming out.
Four Wings. Four Wings is coming out. Read it. It's great.
Okay.
I think it's Rebecca Yarros. I left my ARC upstairs, but it's so good. It's so good. I'm a fantasy nerd, if it wasn't clear by the Aragon titles in the background here. So that's my niche.
Okay. All right. Four Wings. You heard it here first. Check it out.
Oh, it's so good.
I really love that you told me about like what club and merchandise meant, because I really, like, in my head, merchandise was like, there's book merchandise that exists. And then
is.
Yeah. And then club stuff, I was like, I don't know, golf clubs. I don't know why my brain thought, like, not like physical golf clubs, but like country clubs.
Oh, I'm like, what other kind of golf clubs are there?
I was imagining dance clubs. Oh no, it took me 2 weeks into my job to understand what my title meant. 2 weeks, because I had no idea. They're just like, you're going to work with merchandise and clubs. And I was like, okay, cool.
But yeah, I probably would think like dance clubs. Yeah, I probably would too. Like bars.
What else could they be? But yeah.
But that's really so awesome. I know. I would be there. A dance club that has books. That's
the only club I'd go to.
I don't know that I would dance a lot at a club like that, but
it would.
I mean, I would be there.
It would be a little odd. Be there. It would, because like, it would maybe be hard to focus.
It would not work. It would not work.
Okay, never mind.
We've just
New business
reinvented.
venture.
We've just reinvented a library, but with alcohol,
Yes, you did.
which
Oh.
honestly is not a bad choice.
Well, that's a really good idea.
But then you have to like
That we should
separate the
do.
books versus the alcohol and the damaging the books, and I don't know.
Books, board games, alcohol, and coffee, and a little bit of tea, because you have to have tea with books. And a cat. You have to have a cat.
I'll
So
take
we've
that.
just
I'll take
combined
a couple cats.
bar, cafe, cat cafe, and library.
Honestly,
just
this just
combined-
sounds like modern cafes that you walk into, and it's like there's board games, there's books, there's coffee and tea, and there's probably a cat.
But no alcohol.
Maybe alcohol. Yeah, we just need a cafe with alcohol.
Yeah.
Well, let us know if you want to invest in our venture business idea.
It's all of Teresa's
This is
favorite
all
things.
yours. This is all yours. You can have
I
it.
like Ray is like, no, thank you.
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
I'm
I-
just starting to save up money. I am not going to be getting into this business venture at this time.
So a couple in the chat. So Tally on the chat went and said that apparently they went and looked up the cover for Fourth Wing and says it's to die for, sprayed edges with dragons apparently.
So I just saw the covers for the projected series, like 2 different options, and I'm like, I can't say anything, but also a best part of my job. I get to look at all the cover arts and like suggest things because I'm sales, and so they think that I know things. And that's amazing. Like there's been a couple books where I've been like, hey, like color theory wise, like maybe we should do this. And they're like, yeah, that sounds like a great idea. And I'm like, I'm powerful. I'm an assistant. I've been here since November. Yeah, there's an amazing amount of like respect that people have here for each other. It's really cool.
That's really nice. I like that.
I was just about to ask, like, what is your favorite part of your job? Is that it? Like the cover? Because that is fascinating. Like I'm just like my brain is processing
It's
this,
definitely
but
interesting. I think it depends on the day because it depends on your mood, right? There's gonna be days where you just want to get your work done and you want to log off and you want to read a book until somebody needs something from you again. And then those days do happen. But a lot of my job in sales is to go to these meetings. So if your book is picked up by one of these big publishers, right? Your editor is going to pitch it to upper level sales, not us. And they're going to have this whole discussion. There's contract negotiations. They pick up your book. Then somewhere along the line of your manuscript's either ready if it's a debut or it's not quite ready if this is a series. They start prepping covers and summaries, and they do what's called a launch meeting, which are these huge conferences with like sometimes 80 to 100 people. And we're all just sitting in there on like calls looking as the editor comes up and talks about the book and talks about, you know, why it's good, why it's going to sell, maybe talks to some accounts individually, like accounts meaning like buyers, basically, external buyers. And he's like, hey, I really think Barnes & Nobles is going to like this one. Here's why. And so I can sit in on those meetings. I need to sit in on those meetings to know what books we're publishing. And that's really cool to be like, oh, this is everything that's going to publish in spring. What does that look like? What is it, the trends that we're picking up on? Like, what books am I going to be sending to my house? You know, just, it's cool. It's very cool.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
that is incredibly fascinating.
I wanted to
Sales is
circle.
great.
Sales is fun. I like sales. I wanted to circle back to one thing you said about feeling underqualified and overqualified. Do you want to expand on that a little bit?
So I am absolutely not qualified to do my boss's jobs. They are amazing people that have developed relationships with the buyers, know that team very well, know exactly what they're going to be looking for, you know their accounts in and out. I, on the other hand, mostly just put numbers into spreadsheets at this point. And I firmly believe that someday my job is going to be taken up by some kind of algorithm or computer, and they're not going to need this job anymore. Which on one hand is good because frankly, like what I'm doing is fairly boring most of the time. I'm just generating a report and plugging numbers into different places. And eventually, if they're smart, they're going to find a way to automate that. On the other hand, you know, you're kind of just thrown into these jobs when you get there and you're picking up all the lingo as you go. So I definitely feel overqualified for like putting numbers in that part of my job. But then somebody will send me an email and I'm like, I have no idea what you're asking me for. I guess I'll go try to figure that out. And you just try to figure it out. And then when you don't, you ask your boss, hey, what's this mean? What did you need? What does this mean?
That is really
very cool though.
We have a question from the chat. Sue wants to know, does the writer get to help design the cover at all?
It depends on the author. Most of the time, no. Unfortunately, there is input. Like often the editors will talk about, oh, but the author is really attached to this cover, so they're kind of reluctant. But let's be honest, it's mostly the authors that are established and make a lot of money that have that kind of voice and power. If you're a debut author, and unless they, sometimes they put a bunch of money behind your marketing, right? And when that happens, you'll tell by the amount of attention they're paying to you. That's when they'll be asking you, like, hey, do you like this? But most of the time, it's kind of like, here's your cover. Hope you like it. And you have very little input. That was unfortunate.
That was my experience when, with my very, very first book that went through. It was a small press, but more of a traditional publisher. They just were like, here's the cover. And I loved it. I thought it was absolutely gorgeous. And that cover sold a ton of books. They really knew what they were doing with that one. And it's definitely interesting because I know all of our listeners know I'm the co-owner of No Bad Books Press. And that's actually one thing that we pride ourselves on is working with the authors on the cover. However, we also take market trends into account with that too. It's not just a free-for-all of whatever the author wants. We have to take market trends into account. We want it to look a certain way so that somebody does see it on the shelf or see it at a convention and be like, oh, that's so cool. What is it? So there's a lot that goes into that. So
you get a lot of lingo thrown around like, oh, I don't think that looks like a big book. And there's all these little subtle things that go into it. Like, well, we've already used red as a background for 3 of these self-help books in the last 2 years. I think we need to switch it up. Like, it depends on the books that were previously published. It depends on, is that font readable, which should be taken into account more, but sometimes is not. But it's also just these feels of the book. And it's like, oh, well, that's a beautiful cover, but it doesn't feel,
it doesn't speak.
Marketable. Yeah, to what the genre, the audience that they're trying to pick.
Yes.
Basically, book covers are a way of saying, this is what is in this package, right? Don't judge a book by its cover. That's exactly what we're not trying to do. We are trying to get you to judge a book by its cover and to go, this is what's in it, and this is the kind of book that I've liked before. This is the kind of book I'll like again. It's literally all marketing.
And that's why, like, to me, I feel like with covers, a cozy mystery. If I say cozy mystery, you visualize exactly what that cover looks like. You know exactly what I mean. With that, same with a lot of urban fantasy and paranormal stuff. Again, if I say that, you know exactly the kind of cover that I mean. But
woman in leather, dark background,
probably
with some sort of glowy
effect.
Neon thing.
Yeah, maybe holding a weapon.
Yeah. Or having magic in their hand.
Or magic, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You guys know what I mean. But in 5 years, it will have shifted.
Oh, yeah. Some genres especially look so dated so quickly.
Yep.
I'm really curious to see when the romance genre is going to get tired of the kind of like pick arty. No.
Not the fart.
Not like that. No. Not like the people that aren't people, the people art that's like
I understand. I understand. Like that aesthetic that's currently up right now.
Yes,
yep.
It's huge. It's every romance book that we're publishing looks like that. And I know one of my friends like utterly hates it, and I'm like, I kind of like it better than the real people because I have a thing against seeing a person on the cover and being like, oh, you're telling me that that's what the protagonist looks like. I resent that. But look back in like 5 years and see if that's still a thing. These trends move fast. They really do.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
an example, I think, Teresa, you were telling me you were reading Lessons in Chemistry.
Yes.
Has kind of a book cover kind of like that.
Mhm.
Talia has a question, which I actually is very interesting to
Hi
me.
again, Talia.
Uh, she wants to know, how have you seen Book Talk / BookTube impact your job?
Mm.
Is it the potential virality or quotability something that's coming up more in meetings? Hopefully I got that
So,
question right.
oh yeah, I have a boss. This is the Target rep. Her name's Patricia. She's a wonderful woman, but the amount of times that she has talked about how much she hates book talk is
Oh.
amazing. And it's not for the reason you might think. It's that book talk is so impactful
Mhm.
to her account that they want to buy these certain books. And if it's not on book talk, they're less interested. And so all of their buys become impacted by that. So I'd say book talk is hugely impactful right now. When I'm sitting in on marketing meetings, they're talking about, influencers and
Mhm.
ads on social media. And yeah, I think it's having a huge impact because all of these accounts are going, hey, this book that was on this social media platform is selling really well. We should pick up more of those books. So it's become, there's all different kinds of ads that they're trying out with like working with the influencer and how much do you pay them? And it's all this stuff that's over my head. So all of that is marketing. All I do is I go, okay, cool. I write down their marketing plans and then I tell that to the accounts to be like, look, we're doing all of these things. This is why you should buy this book because here's where we're putting our money for this book. But it's absolutely impactful. Yes.
That's fascinating. My next question. So you're also a writer. I think a very good
Yes.
writer.
Thank you.
As a writer now in the publishing industry, what surprised you the most?
Mm.
It's a great question. I think it's hard for me to immediately answer that one because I've been studying and working in the publishing industry for like 4 years or so now. Not like I had internships, not like I had a real job or whatever. But I've been studying it for a while. I kind of knew how hectic the backdrop was. I had friends that were working in the industry. I think what might most just like surprise me is how you'd think that it'd be kind of like, okay, at some point people would stop loving the books, right? That at some point the people would just be doing this as a job. But every meeting, especially the smaller ones, inevitably devolves into just a book club. Into people just being like, I just read this thing. Have you read it? Or, I'll send off like a comment in one of the sales conferences to be like, wow, I'm so excited to read that book. And 2 minutes later, not even my boss's boss will have sent that manuscript into my inbox. Like it's just this like fostering of like, yes, we love these books. And there's not like any shame if you don't read, like there's no expectations, at least in the sales end. It's obviously different if you're an editor. You kind of need to read the books.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
over here,
Small thing.
it's just like you don't need to read the books to sell them, technically. Often, most books don't get read. But people love this. They
Mhm.
really, really love this. And for such a big industry where there's like, there's hundreds of hands touching your book before it gets into like, the general public, a surprising amount of them have going to like intimately analyze you, your writing, and your book. Way more than I ever expected. It's honestly a little intimidating. I'm like, oh,
Aw.
all those people are going to be looking at my writing and judging me. And like, why should that matter any more than like a general public audience? But these people like know their stuff and are judging you. I'm like, it's flattering, but also a little like, ooh, I'm nervous.
Aw.
But that's really exciting to hear. I think I've talked to many authors who want to be traditionally published, and it's a rough road to get there. It's a rough road to get an agent. It's very challenging. Querying is challenging. Submitting it's all very challenging. And sometimes people can get jaded and people can think, oh, the industry is full of gatekeepers. Nobody likes my stuff. Like that type of
Yeah.
mindset can come in. And it's really nice reminder that everyone, no matter who I've ever met in publishing, authors, editors, whoever I've ever met, like people are good people. They're nice.
Oh,
They
absolutely.
love books. They're just doing their best to support, you know, their families, but also support the stuff that they love. And there's no one out there that I've met yet, maybe they exist, but I haven't met them, who are mean or have bad intentions or anything like that. It's just, you know, it's refreshing to be reminded of and to hear that, you know, industry is full of people who are gushing about books the same way that we do.
Yep, they're just normal people.
Yeah.
If you allow me, I
Go,
just
no, go ahead.
something that was shared with me, not here. I used to intern at Writer's House, and something that was shared with me, which really changed my perspective of the industry and of traditional publishing for the better. That kind of made me feel less, I don't know, so invested in all of those queries and all of these things that were getting back to me that I was taking it so personally. So, publishing industry, especially these big publishers, it's like a stock market. Every book is a stock and it goes up and down. And so the way to think about it is the big books and the big authors, like let's say Stephen King and John Green and whatever, those are the companies' bread and butter, right? That's where they're making most of their money. Those big books make way more money than all of the small ones do combined. They set aside a portion of their budget to take chances on new authors and like, you know, small books and these things in case they eventually, you know, do hit it big. They're not really expecting them to. And it's all just a game of trying to predict what people are going to like, who's going to get lucky. It has very little to do with what's good. You know, like editors are going to try and champion for a book they love, of course. And you can hear it in their voices in sales conference. You know, they're picking books that they love. It's not like they're just going, oh, I know this is going to sell. I'm going to pick it. But that's certainly an element of it because you're going to get so many good books. There's so many good writers out there. There's just so many of us that want to publish, that have a really good concept and really good writing. And they only have so many chances that they can take each season. So it's not about whether you're good or not. It's a combination of being marketable and catching the right eye at the right time. And marketable is an utterly meaningless thing that depends on trends, depends on the eyes, depends on all this stuff. And again, it's stock market. They're predicting. They don't know. Of course, none of us can know what's going to happen. So yes. I just think it's really important to remember that it's not about being good. It's about getting lucky, frankly. And that is disheartening, but it's true.
And I 100% agree with that. I mean, how many times have we read somebody's query? I mean, we've all beta read for so many authors and been like, oh my gosh, this book is so good. I don't understand why it's not getting picked up. And it's because of that. But I'll also flip it on another side too. In my day job, I have interviewed hundreds, if not thousands of people. I have had times where when I'm interviewing a candidate, I'm not in a good headspace. And I'm having to be like, focus, because it's not fair to the person. However, I'm also human as well. Mm-hmm. And I probably have bypassed people who gave very good interviews because my head wasn't in the game for that very minute. And the same thing happens when editors and agents and their readers are reading your book. It doesn't mean it's not good. Maybe they were just human. Yeah.
I was an agent's assistant for a while, and the sheer volume of queries and novels, imagine that that's your job, is to sit at a computer and look at a screen and read hundreds of queries. That's one thing. Now imagine if that's 5% of your job, because the rest of it is contracts and negotiations and talking to editors and working on the books that you already have. And imagine how little bandwidth you have to give those queries the space that they deserve. It's not that anyone is against you. It's just, again, sheer volume of really good writers versus hired people that often on that side of the industry especially are not getting paid enough and are stressed. Agents' work is really hard. Editors' work is really hard. There's a reason I'm in sales. It's easier over here.
Now we
Yeah,
know.
I know. And hey, you can be angry at the Asian that rejected you. I'm not
Mhm.
telling you not to like acknowledge your feelings, but there are reasons, and those reasons aren't, I'm just not good enough. That's not the reason.
Agreed.
That's a
Because
really
100%
let me
healthy
tell you, there's
mindset.
plenty of books that I've read that should not have been good enough. That's not the reason. It's not the reason.
All right.
Well, you,
Oh, go
yeah.
ahead.
Oh,
Go
go
ahead,
ahead.
Therese.
No, no. I was going to say, well, you and I, before we went live, we were talking about a very popular book that I hated the ending so very much. Um, and trust me, it is an exceedingly popular book. And I'm like, I don't understand why. But that's how
We've
it works. That's how
we've
the game
talked about
works.
multiple books on this channel
Mm-hmm.
that have not been our favorite, but are exceedingly popular.
Yep.
It is what it is.
Yep.
All right. I want to get one question out here. We got a couple more questions on the chat, but we're kind of running out of time. So I want to
sorry.
give one
it's
one
okay.
more question. No, you don't have to apologize at all.
Yeah.
One more question and then kind of start wrapping up. So we don't, otherwise I have the feeling that we would talk all night. And as fun as that would be,
I got
we're
editing to do.
humans. We're
It
humans
is
and we have
10
things to
p.m.
do.
where I am, so
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
then yes.
All right. So our final question, I know there's a couple in the chat, but the final one that I'm going to pick, because it's been here for a little bit, is a follow-up about the BookTube, talking about a lot of it seems like it's fiction. Have you seen nonfiction pitches start changing in response? And what makes the Big Five want to pick one of those up?
Honestly, I'm going to tell you to pick a different question because I'm not
Okay.
close enough to that side of the industry to be able to tell you. I don't get to look at queries. I don't get to look at, what books are chosen versus not. I just get told, here are the books that we've chosen.
All right. So here's the follow-up. Here's the different question then, which is maybe this is like $1 million question for us authors. How do you get recognized?
Oh, oh, I know.
If
know.
I knew, I
Right.
would have an agent.
I would have sold a book by now. Oh, it's so hard. It's so hard. It's, when I was looking, again, this is back to me being an agent's assistant, right? And it's such a combination of little things. It's your query has the right voice that person goes, oh, I want to read that. And other like things of like, I have a website that has a following. I have an Instagram. I drew art of my characters and it blew up on some social media site. And now I've got a bunch of followers. Like, obviously, you bringing forward and saying, hi, I have these people that are invested in me. That is publicity and marketing's dream, right? They want authors that have followers, but okay, I don't have that. I don't know, but most people I know don't have that. And it's okay. You're not expected as a debut author to always come with this massive amount of fans. I think what is important is that you are willing to do those things if you get picked up. That, you don't have to be face forward. But for example, there's an author that I work with, as in, I've seen their work and videos and stuff like that. They're not comfortable showing their face. But they use like a little VTuber thing and still make little marketing videos, stuff like that. And they're willing to go on podcasts, just being willing to take any step that publicity asks and being willing to go out on your own and keep building engagement on social media. That is super important right now. And I know that sounds really daunting, especially if you don't already have something published. Again, there's a reason that I haven't done any of these things. I'm not saying that like this is mandatory. It's just I've noticed these trends. And if this is something that you think you can do, it's helpful. If it's not, don't stress about it. It's, the book still comes first. Worry about that stuff after.
All right.
Love it. That was great.
That was. Thank you so much for joining us today. I
Of
know
course.
the chat
Thank you for having me.
The chat is blowing up. They want you to come back.
Okay.
We'll see, guys. We'll see, all y'all. Okay. But yeah, just thank you, Ray, so much for coming, for sharing your knowledge and your experiences, answering all of these questions. Really, really have appreciated it.
Of course. Again, thank you. I mean, hey, I'm a writer. I get it. The more information that we can have, the better, right?
Yes.
Absolutely. All right. Teresa, any final thoughts?
As always, like, follow, subscribe, all of that stuff.
I don't know where it is. Probably down below.
Down below, probably down below. Yeah.
Maybe
Somewhere down
I don't
there.
know. Somewhere.
Oh yeah. And Ray, if they wanted to follow you, is there anywhere they can go that they can follow you? Do you want to direct people to you at all?
Stalkers.
I don't have anything. That's what I mean. I truly have nothing. I have no website. I don't have Twitter. I have an Instagram where I post D&D art. Like, I have nothing. But let me get back to you. And then maybe if I come back, I'll make a Twitter just so that I can start answering questions. Something like that.
Well, I know you're on Discord. Maybe if
I
you want to
am
pop
on Discord.
over, you can pop
Yes.
over to our Discord and maybe people can chat with you over there.
Absolutely. Yes. I'm on Discord like 24/7. So that would be great. Actually, that would be perfect.
Perfect.
Yes, can do
Yay.
that.
So thank you so much. Thank you, chat, for
Thanks.
joining us. And everyone, we're going to end the stream now, but have a lovely rest of your day.